Was können Sie mir über diesen Streik erzählen?
Everything. Right up to, but not including, trade secrets.
Augenblick, was ist, wenn ich etwas über Geschäftsgeheimnisse hören möchte?
First, you'd have to repeal the Emergencies Act of Trade in Elements. That gives me the right to silence. It's quite the octopus.
Ein krakenhaftes Ungetüm? Das töte ich.
Good luck is only kept in place by the vested interests of half the civilized world, including your own.
What the ma'am means is that the Emergencies Act and the RCM both get their authority from the coalition government.
Toll.
But I am derailing us. You wanted to know about the strike.
Und was genau ist Ihre Rolle in dieser Angelegenheit?
I believe the official title is Senior Labor Negotiator. In practice, I'm a grocery clerk. I relay the union's demands to Wild Pines and return with Wild Pines' counteroffer.
And how are the talks going?
They're not. That's the problem. The union stopped all negotiations a week ago, after that awful lynching took place.
Okay.
Now they won't even let me into the harbour. There's a 2-meter-20 racist behemoth blocking the gates.
Ach, Sie meinen Schädelmesser.
Yes, Jean-Luc Measurehead.
Sie lehnt sich zurück und verdreht die Augen. Wie liefen die Gespräche vor dem Lynchmord?
Let's say I was not making the kind of progress I'd hoped for when I first arrived.
And when did you first arrive?
I arrived 3 weeks ago. Yes, in the middle of February. The bay was still partially frozen then. I prefer to do these things on site, like the RCM.
But the strike began in December.
Wirft einen Blick in seine Notizen.
I wasn't the original negotiator here. I took over after Mr. Gaumont hit a wall with Mr. Clare, the union boss. Mr. Clare refused to speak with Gaumont despite concessions he'd granted the union in prior negotiations.
This isn't the first time the union has gone on strike.
Heavens no. There have been 2 prior strikes. Both times the union won significant concessions, including overtime pay and a medical plan. This time their demands are more, I guess you could say, aggressive.
Was ist aus diesem Gaumont geworden?
Mr. Clare told him to... how did he put it?
Sie pausiert, um sich zu sammeln.
Fuck off, midget. Gaumont is short of stature, you see.
Oh, okay. Nicht cool.
Keep in mind, this is a negotiator Mr. Clare has worked with before, and who was more than fair with him and the union.
Sounds like usual aggressive posturing.
Was fordert die Gewerkschaft?
There are leaflets everywhere, and banners. What did they say again? Oh yes. Every worker, a member of the board.
Extrem aggressives Kommi-Getue.
In its defense, another said, demand democracy. Pretty tame stuff compared to every worker, a member of the board.
Was soll das überhaupt bedeuten?
It's quite simple, you see. Every time the Wild Pines group makes a decision, about what? About anything really, it needs the signature of each of the 2,200 workers in its Martinez terminal.
Ein bisschen übertrieben, oder?
Just so you understand, this is but one of 22 terminals owned by Wild Pines. Essentially, not only are they kings of the company, they are also kings of the 72,000 employees of Wild Pines Group.
Was werden Sie jetzt tun?
I'm not sure. Naturally, I assume that was just their opening position. A hard-nosed tactic with a side of mockery. But there's been no follow-up, just the same nonsensical slogan repeated over and over again. And now, people are getting lynched, I hear. Behind the whirling in rags. A disastrous situation if there ever was one.
Excuse me, from whom did you hear about this lynching?
I first heard it from the boyer at the gates. The one whose very name advertises his aversion to work. I think he said it was, call me mañana.
This checks out.
Die Streikbrecher am Tor, haben Sie die dort postiert?
The scabs? You mean the huddled masses of Jamrock, come to plead for work where the Union refuses to? If they were organized by Wild Pines or its affiliates, then it would be a company secret. I could not share it with you. Not right now, at least.
It's implied she's open to discussing this matter with you at a later occasion.
Okay. Was halten Sie von Evra?
Everard Clare is a man of the utmost integrity. If you can say one thing about him, it's that he always puts the interests of the workers first.
Wirklich?
Of course not. Everard is fantastically corrupt. I imagine he has a thick, viscous goo where you and I have blood.
Das beschreibt Evra treffend.
He is the most corrupt individual I have ever seen, and I deal with men like him for a living. If there is anyone more venal, more irredeemably nepotistic, then it's his twin brother, Edgar.
Ich habe schon einmal von diesem Edgar gehört.
Have you seen him?
Nein.
Edgar looks exactly like his brother,
Oh,
except
God.
for that lazy eye. He also talks exactly like Everard does, and when one's term as foreman is up, the other takes over. It's how they circumvent the term limits, you see, with a funny little switcheroo. While in office, they've embezzled God knows how much of their workers' dues.
Ah, interessant. Was ist denn mit der Gewerkschaft an sich? Die besteht doch nicht bloß aus den Clare-Brüdern.
The Debarders Union was once a perfectly normal institution. 20 years ago, anyway. It must not have been easy to establish under the Emergency Act, but they did it. I can respect that. Organised labour at its best, as they say. Then something happened in the local chapter elections. The brothers Clare came and transformed it into a... how do you say?
Sie zögert und sucht nach dem richtigen Ausdruck.
A mob. The Debarders are a crime syndicate. Sad as it may be, we are forced to cooperate with them.
Refreshingly honest, officer. The company has tried appeasing in the past, but I'm afraid our concessions have only emboldened Everard and his brother.
Sie wendet sich an dich.
And your opinion, detective, if I may ask. I'm a curious and talkative person, you see. Would you say the Debarders Union is...
Im Grunde halte ich sie für eine sozialistische Mafiabande.
Thank you for being candid. Sadly, Wild Pines have cooperated with what amounts to a crime syndicate for 2 decades. However much you feed the wolf always hungers.
Noch etwas. Sie haben gesagt, bei den Wahlen sei etwas passiert.
I'm glad you asked. There was a woman, the previous forewoman of the Union. She disappeared.
Oh,
Disappeared?
nicht gut.
Yes. On the last day of the local chapter elections, her daughter phoned in and said she wasn't running anymore. Or coming to work. Ever. End of story.
Klingt nach Erpressung.
Indeed. The company suspects foul play, but there's nothing they could do. It was a union matter. The point of the presentation is, these kinds of things happen around the Clares. Watch out when you're dealing with him.
Thank you for your concern, ma'am. We'll be just fine.
Mehr muss ich dazu nicht wissen. Wechseln wir das Thema.
Of course. How else can I help?
Was können Sie mir über diesen Lynchmord erzählen?
Quite a few things, I'm afraid.
Sie verstummt kurz und denkt über etwas nach.
The information I'm to share with you includes sensitive trade secrets. For the sake of my employer, I have to ask for your names and badge numbers.
Oh nein. Ich weiß meine Ausweisnummer nicht.
Of course, ma'am. We should have introduced
Oh God.
ourselves. I am Lieutenant Kitsuragi from Precinct 57.
Ich habe meinen Ausweis nicht.
And this is my colleague from Precinct 41, Detective Dubois. I'm afraid Harry doesn't have his badge at the moment. I hope mine will suffice.
Oh. And what happened to yours, Detective?
Sie gibt dem Lieutenant seinen Ausweis zurück und wendet sich an dich.
Awkwardness washes over the conversation. The woman doesn't like this turn of events.
Oh nein. Erinnern Sie sich noch, wie mein Partner Ihnen erzählt hat, bei mir sei vor kurzem ein ungewöhnliches medizinisches Problem aufgetreten. Der Verlust meines Ausweises steht in Zusammenhang damit.
I see. So, are you saying you lost your badge during the course of this episode?
Die zweite Option, vielleicht habe ich ihn auch gegessen. Ich weiß nicht, nein. Ja.
I can't hear you, darling. Speak up,
Scheiße.
please.
Oh nein, jetzt muss ich das auch noch sagen. Vielleicht habe ich ihn auch gegessen. Ich weiß nichts mehr. Weder über diese Welt noch über diese Stadt. Nichts.
Oh dear. I suppose this does explain some of the more curious turns in our conversation.
Ja.
As I said, ma'am, his technique may be very unconventional, but he is an officer of the RCM.
Of course, I sympathize, but I'm afraid I simply can't share anything more until I've seen
Nein.
that badge.
Gott verdammt.
She's a professional negotiator. She should be open to some sort of mutually beneficial arrangement.
Okay, was für eine Vereinbarung wäre das?
I mean, favors for favors. A dirty alliance of some sort.
Oh je. Okay, eine rote Würfelprobe. Ja, wir haben eine ziemlich hohe Chance. Was kann ich ihr für einen Handel anbieten?
Easy. Just offer her a favor. Like I said, nice and dirty.
Wir können Ihnen unsere Fähigkeiten als Gesetzeshüter doch bestimmt auch auf andere Weise unter Beweis stellen.
I will be frank with you. If I'm going to break protocol, I need to be able to justify it to my superiors. They're going to want to see something very tangible.
You're in, but expect her to drive a hard bargain.
Zum Beispiel,
Reports from inside Terminal B suggest it's a hub for the local drug trade. This is an open secret in Martinez. The Union controls the terminal, so it goes to reason.
They're profiting from this trade.
The company has tried looking into this matter before, to no avail. Perhaps someone with your authority and resources might turn over the right stones.
der Container im Hafen.
Or you can recover your badge. Though if I may be blunt with you, it sounds like that may be a lost cause.
Ich weiß nicht.
Detective, a word in private before we continue.
Entschuldigen Sie uns bitte einen Augenblick. Oh Gott.
Hey, psst.
Wer? Ich?
Yes, you. Word on the street is you're ready to start building communism again.
Ich? Woher will die Straße das denn wissen?
You keep saying things like, down with the bourgeoisie, eat the rich, sodomize the landowners, impel all people who have more than 25 real in their pockets, literally murder all human beings regardless of their political beliefs. That kind of stuff.
Ich habe vielleicht ein paar links angehauchte Sachen gesagt, aber nicht so etwas.
Oh yes, the mask of ambivalence. Don't deny it. You're about to rip it off and reveal the monstrous seven-eyed lamb of global communism that would devour and masticate mankind. Everyone can see that. So tell me, do you have any questions before we fire up the big communism builder? Or do we get right down to it?
Ich würde es mal machen, um zu schauen, ob mir dieser Gedanke vielleicht weiterhilft. Ja.
Oh yeah. Get the firing squads and the animal wagons ready.
Moment, was? Erschießungskommandos? Von denen hattest du gar nichts gesagt.
Too late to back out now. You can't make an omelette without breaking a few million eggs.
Okay, ich krempel die Ärmel weiter hoch und sauge die herrliche frische Luft ein. Okay. Was noch?
Anti-Object Task Force.
Alles klar, wir haben was abgeschlossen.
Behold, the Anti-Object Task Force has assembled. God's avenging angel, arrayed against the lower emanations of the darkened one. Shoe racks, tape recorders, motor carriages, and doors. So many doors. You're not just pounding it all to pieces. You're reforging the universe. from the anvil of the heavens to the worms below. Indulge in it. Be bold. Have an impact on the shape of creation. Out of the furnace of your rage, a new reality. Also, you should trash your room again.
Angriffe auf physische Objekte heilen Schaden. Ach, ja, das hätte ich mal bei der Tür gebraucht. +1 Schmerzgrenze, dickes Fell, alle Lerngrenzen für Konstitution um 1 erhöht. Ja, ist eigentlich praktisch. Wieso ist das hier so komisch verbunden und das ist nicht verbunden? Masiovianische Sozioökonomie. -2 visuelles Kalkül. Och nö. Das ist ein bisschen ätzend. Leute denken, dass der Kommunismus eine verrückte Idee war, die vor 40 Jahren abgestraft wurde. Ein Fieber, das die Welt ergriff und dann für immer verschwand. Sie hatten recht, bis er heute früh aufgewacht ist. Eine spirituelle Leiche, die nur auf den Ruf von Commodore Red, Prostituierten und Gras Massow hört. Für ihn ist der Kommunismus noch am Leben. Im Alleingang wird er die Kommune von 02 aus dem Tiefseegraben herausholen, wo sie mit Geistern und Seetang bedeckt geruht hat. Er ist der große Erbauer des Kommunismus. Kommt, werde Zeuge seines Versuchs, den Kommunismus im Jahr 51 wiederzubeleben. Halte einen Platz frei. Ja gut. Ich will wissen, was dabei rauskommt. Insofern. Was noch?
It's clear you like the hard stuff, Bruder.
Oh, noch ein Gedanke. Auf was stehe ich? Klingt irgendwie, als ob mein Magen grummelt.
Evening falls. The time has come to take the vow.
Den Eid?
The vows are blood and flesh.
Was hat mein unterer Darm für ein Problem?
Lower intestine. The term is metabolic and circulatory system.
Okay, aber was ist die harte Tour?
Fascism, Bruder.
Ja, genau. Der Kommunismus, jetzt auch noch Faschismus. Was passiert hier? Aber was ist Faschismus?
Many things, but it's mostly about trusting your gut. Who does your gut tell you is the source of Revachol's problems?
Ich dachte, du wärst mein Kreislauf.
Quit stalling, Bruder. We're talking about the weakest, worst, most insane thing. The weak link.
Die Hochfinanz.
Yes, them. But also, women. Women.
Weiber?
Men of war. You don't like them. They're insane. Their idiocy needs to be scrubbed off this world with rubbing alcohol. Woo men need to go back to the fucking kitchen.
Ja, ich glaube, da muss ich an der Stelle aufhören. Ich muss nämlich in die Küche.
That's what fascism boils down to. The rest is also important. But the main thing is that woo men need to know their place.
Man. Habe ich eine Art Bauchkrampf?
Stomach truth. You're having a stomach truth.
Warum kommst du damit um die Ecke?
Because you've said the hard things that others won't say. The good things, you've said them many times.
Aber Faschismus hat so einen miesen Klang. Wieso nennen wir es nicht anders? Zum Beispiel Traditionalismus?
Okay, yes, let's call it that. Good thinking.
Okay, Bauch. Ich weiß jetzt, wie ich zum Faschismus stehe.
You're going to keep your views, right? Keep your views, Bruder.
Ach, was könnte ich für einen Bonus daraus ziehen? Ich glaube, wir gucken es halt mal an, oder? Wenn wir keine Faschisten sind, aber ich halte meinem Eid die Treue für den Ruhm der Revacholer Nation. Ja, ich will nur
For the
wissen...
nation, smart. Best not to mention the woo men too often. That's why you're the head and I am the stomach.
Nein, Faschismus dreht sich um Wirtschaft, Politik und Nationalidentität, nicht um Weiber. Ich habe überhaupt kein Problem mit Frauen.
Of course you are, Lupe. Of course.
Deinem Arsch entfährt ein knurrender Furz, der dich irgendwie an ein Augenzwinkern erinnert. Toll. Ich tätschele meinen Bauch. Okay. -1 Beherrschung. Oh, das dauert aber ganz schön lange. Habe ich das jetzt hier gar nicht... Doch, das habe ich vorgelesen. Mitgenommener Nationalist, Forschungszeit 9 Stunden. Diese Stadt ist im Arsch. Revachol ist eine Ruine. Die Koikos, die Kypten und die armen Tauren mit ihren magischen Wüsten-Pygmäen-Kreiseln, die sind daran schuld. Und oranjesische Liberale und vespertinische Finanziers, sie sind alle Sozialisten, vor allem die Frauen und die Kypten. Du weißt nur ungefähr, was das bedeutet, aber es ist offensichtlich, dass ein guter, starker Staat aus den Ruinen auferstehen muss, wenn es eine Zukunft für uns geben soll. Jedes Mal, wenn du deine Augen schließt, siehst du, wie sich der schemenhafte Umriss dieses Staates entwickelt. Wir erforschen alles, soweit es geht.